Welcome to Talks with Dr. Gupta and friends. When we look at the global economy through the combined lens of technology, policy, and market dynamics, one truth becomes undeniable. The traditional career blueprint is dead. The World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs data confirms that structural transformation will impact over 20% of all global roles by 2030. While 92 million traditional jobs are being displaced, over 170 million brand new roles are emerging. This is creating a net gain of nearly 78 million opportunities. The shift is not just about writing code or taking orders, it is about entrepreneurship, venture building, and operating at the intersection of computing, biology, energy, and global markets. Here are the 10 most sought after jobs that will define 2030 and beyond. Artificial intelligence and computing is a leading domain. Job type 1: AI and autonomous systems. Architects are professionals who build multi-agent autonomous ecosystems that run complex logistics, smart cities, and enterprise decision engines. Job type 2: quantum systems and cryptographic security lead migrate global finance and state security toward post-quantum cryptographic defense. Biotechnology and deep tech entrepreneurship is the next major domain. Job type 3: synthetic biology and biofoundry. Engineers design custom microbes, engineered enzymes, and synthetic materials to replace petrochemical products. Job type 4: deep tech commercialization-led and venture builders turn laboratory breakthroughs from fusion energy to gene editing into scalable startups. Energy and climate resilience is the third domain shaping future jobs. Job type 5: smart grid and renewable infrastructure. Architects rebuild national power grids to handle decentralized bidirectional energy. Job type 6: climate risk and carbon markets. Strategists model climate impact data into corporate balance sheets and sovereign bond pricing. Finance, governance, and trade form the fourth domain of transformation. Job type 7: fintech and decentralized sovereign asset architects design cross-border digital settlement systems, tokenized commodities, and central bank digital currencies. Job type 8: geoeconomic risk and supply chain resiliency. Analysts use real-time predictive data to redesign supply chains against global conflict and trade shocks. Human-machine collaboration and robotics is the fifth domain that will reshape work. Job type 9: advanced robotics and industrial automation. Integration leads deploy embodied AI into physical manufacturing and autonomous robotics fleets. Job type 10: human AI systems and cognitive ergonomics. Designers define how humans interact with automated workflows to ensure AI complements human intuition. These 10 roles across 5 domains will define careers in 2030 and beyond. In part 2 of Talks with Dr. Gupta and friends, we reverse engineer a 2030 job matrix into today's classrooms. Identifying the jobs of tomorrow is meaningless if higher education remains stuck in the past. Over 60% of global employers state that skill shortages are their single biggest barrier to transformation. If a student enters university today, roughly 40% of the technical skills taught in their freshman year will be obsolete by graduation. To survive, graduates can no longer simply be job seekers. They must become value creators and job builders. Higher education must abandon rigid academic silos and immediately mandate 3 cross-disciplinary core skills. Skill 1: systems thinking and interdisciplinary synthesis. The problems of 2030 do not fit into single academic departments. A climate crisis or AI disruption is simultaneously a technological, economic, regulatory, and human behavior puzzle. Universities must train students to synthesize disparate fields. That means teaching computer scientists how policy works and teaching law students how software algorithms operate. Graduates must view an enterprise as an interconnected ecosystem rather than a set of isolated tasks. Skill 2: algorithmic literacy with human-in-the-loop judgment. In a world saturated with synthetic text, automated code, and AI decision engines, raw execution will be commoditized. The value shifts from generating content to evaluating content. Graduates must possess deep algorithmic literacy and sharp ethical judgment. They must understand data bias, model drift, and statistics while knowing when to trust machine outputs and when to override them. Skill 3: entrepreneurial execution and commercial agility. Whether inside a multinational or building a startup from a garage, every 2030 graduate needs an entrepreneurial mindset. This means understanding capital allocation, customer discovery, intellectual property, and rapid prototyping. It is the ability to identify market inefficiencies, build a minimum viable solution, and iterate based on real-world feedback without waiting for permission. In our final part of Talks with Dr. Gupta and friends, we examine the blueprint on higher education reform. To cultivate core skills for the 2030 job matrix, universities must dismantle outdated general education requirements. Universities must mandate 5 foundational subjects across every degree, whether a student majors in fine arts, business, or mechanical engineering. Subject 1 is applied computational modeling and AI systems. Every student must learn how computational models process data, how neural networks function, and how to build functional automated tools. Subject 2 is deep tech entrepreneurship and venture creation. A mandatory practical course will teach business model generation, equity structure, fundraising mechanics, regulatory compliance, and go-to-market strategies. Subject 3 is climate economics and energy transition science. The course covers carbon accounting, energy grid, physics, supply chain material flows, and the economic mechanics driving the global green transition. Subject 4 is biocomputation and synthetic life systems. Students must understand gene editing, synthetic materials, and computational biology as primary manufacturing drivers of the coming century. Subject 5 is digital ethics, tech governance, and geopolitics. This subject covers how software impacts civil liberties, international trade, friction, intellectual property law, and democratic institutions. Here is the executable blueprint for higher education. First, transition from 4-year static degrees to 2+2 modular architectures. The first 2 years should focus on foundational core competencies, computational thinking systems, science writing, and entrepreneurial principles. The final 2 years must consist of dynamic micro-credentials updated annually in partnership with leading industries and venture funds. Second, replace written exams with interdisciplinary venture labs. Grade students not on essay memorization but on team-based capstone projects. Pair a computer science student, a philosophy major, and a finance student to build and pitch a functional prototype or business plan to real-world investors and industry leaders. Third, establish faculty founder, exchange programs, and university micro VC funds. Allow professors to spend time in startups and venture firms without losing tenure, and establish campus funds to seed student-led IP and spin-offs. The choice facing higher education is clear: update the academic blueprint to teach venture creation and asymmetric skills, or risk producing graduates entering an economy that no longer has a use for traditional degrees. Thank you for watching Talks with Dr. Gupta and friends. Stay sharp, stay informed, and let us keep analyzing the forces shaping our world.